and today is May 1st, 2014, and we're in Mangum, Oklahoma, interviewing Linda Burcham as a part of the Voices of Extension Oral History. And thank you for joining us today, Linda.
You're welcome.
Well, first let's talk a little bit about your early life, and when and where were you born?
I was born at Russell, Oklahoma in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived there, moved to a different house, but I lived there until I married in 1956.
1956.
Mm-hmm.
And so were you born at the house?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure it was there.
Kind of the normal thing back then was
Yes.
not going to a hospital, but
Well,
having
no.
a midwife come and...
Yeah, there was a doctor that lived a little, I don't know, he had his office a little way south of Russell, the little town of Russell, and he made rounds or you went down there.
I see, I see. Well, how did your family come to live here?
They came here actually in 1907. I've heard my mother talk about the night they were in a wagon yard in Ardmore, Oklahoma, the night that Oklahoma became a state in 1907.
Wow.
And she said it was very loud, guns going off and all sorts of excitement. And they had come from down somewhere south Texas to here.
Okay, okay. When you were growing up, what did your parents do for a living?
My father was a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And we I remember him raising cotton because I learned at a very early age how to pull cotton.
Right, right. It was a family affair thing, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told several people that when I got older, I wasn't real happy when school got out in May because Mom had cherry trees and they had to be picked and pitted and put in the deep freeze at that time. And then we had to chop the cotton, and that was not one of my favorite things.
Right, no watching television
No.
or anything like that.
That's right, there was no loafing around, and but we chopped the cotton, and I think my mother was afraid for a weed to grow. She didn't like them.
Right. Now, did you have brothers and sisters?
No, I'm an only child.
Oh, okay. So you bore the brunt of all the chores.
Of everything, yes.
Right.
Yes.
That is quite a deal.
Yeah, it was. I always thought I was so mistreated.
Oh.
But I was informed by others that I really wasn't.
Right, right. Describe any interaction your family had with Extension back then.
Well, I'm really not sure. I know it wasn't long, and I really don't know when she joined the Farm Women's Club, and that was the experience that she had with Extension.
Right.
And of course we had I think they were called extension agents, and we had a lady, extension lady,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course when I was old enough I joined 4-H, which was wonderful.
Right. And 4-H was in the schools then?
Yes, yes, we met in the school, in a room or in the gym, and well, so many of the kids, mainly I think some of them, they joined so they'd get out of class.
Right.
Because we had it 4-H during school hours, but it was in the school. And I remember when a lot of times we came to the fair or different things, we brought a school bus. And enjoyed it, and it's been quite a learning experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, what were some of the first impressions of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension when they came? Like, do you remember meeting your first extension agent?
Oh yes, yes, I remember them coming, and I thought, oh my, they are so smart, and you know, they were just well cared for, and you know, they were very friendly, and it was quite an education to hear them speak and talk about the things that we could do.
To make life better for
Right.
the family and
Oh, yeah.
the home.
Right, yeah, of course, the home was the you know, kind of one of the major things that we learned about.
Right.
How to do, and
Some tricks that make life easier.
correct, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I remember, and I was telling Carol about it a while ago, is that back when I was little, and I remember Mother talking about it, the lady, what we call home economists now, were to be single. And the first educator that I remember was definitely not married, and it blew my mind as to, and I don't know why it was that way.
Right.
I never did know. I asked several people, and well, they didn't know. That's just the way it was. And
Right. Now, did the, especially with the family consumer science educators back then, were they housed with families, or did they have their own places?
they had their own places,
Had their own homes or
apartments.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not real sure about that, but
Mhm.
they did not live with any of the families.
Right. Right.
And probably that may have been done because of people thinking partiality or something. They'll let them do whatever they want to, or
Mhm.
something. So I'm sure that was it. But
It was.
they
Mhm.
had their own a little house or an apartment.
Right. Right. Can you talk a little bit about the leader agents who were involved? Uh, do you know any specific names or exactly a specific time where that you remember a family consumer science agent, like something specific that you learned from them, or a special time spent together?
I remember them coming to the school
Mm-hmm.
for our 4-H meetings, and I remember Miss Geraldine Mays. She was the first educator, or home economist as we called them, or home demonstration agent
Okay.
back then.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very, very interesting, and of course was not married, and she helped a lot. And I remember coming to her office and visiting, because I was not old enough at that time to join 4-H, but Mother was very involved in the club work, and
Right.
we would have, she'd need a question answered or something, and it was very educational, and I could hardly wait till I was old enough to get in 4-H.
Mm-hmm. Now, after 4-H, was and as far as Oklahoma Home and Community Education, did you get involved when you were first married or when you were out of school? What was the beginning age of involvement?
Well, I was married, and of course, you know, we were farmers, and it was not until my children were older and they began to talk about 4-H and you know, different things, and of course I wanted them involved also, because it is an educational program, and so they got involved, and then I decided I might ought to join the club, and I joined first at White Flat, and it disbanded after about a year that pardon me, that I had been in, and then I joined the Reed.
The Reed Club.
Anyway, I've been in about 52 years.
52 years with the Reed Club, still active today.
Yes.
Doing things, and so that's wonderful. Linda, you have brought some memorabilia with you today, which we really appreciate. And they're club books, they're secretary books from the OHCE clubs throughout the years, starting with 1942, and it goes to 1952.
And I don't know those.
And then these are from the 80s here.
Okay.
Late 70s and 80s, and so the secretaries kept attendance and what the subjects were.
Yeah, they're actually, you know, kind of a history. I did not know until my mother passed away that she had these. She was not secretary, but apparently when they cleaned out where they had been meeting or whatever, she picked them up, and she was kind of a keeper, and when she passed, I brought them home. I kind of inherited that,
Right.
that whether it's good or bad, but I've kept it, and I read back in some of those minutes, and it's quite interesting to read them, and most of them, you know, or a lot of them I knew from years past, and
Right.
it's interesting.
Yeah, they're wonderful archives,
Yes.
because you can see the subject matter of what was at the club meetings, and you can see the families that were represented there with the mothers and the grandmothers.
Right, and it's like, oh, I didn't realize that, but it all, you know, and actually it all started in Farm Women's Club, which and I think that's great that it did.
Right.
And has carried over into today.
Right, and that's the wonderful thing, is that, you know, good things last. And,
Yes.
And so through the dedication, and I think that you and your club members and people like you in communities like this really do show the younger generations what dedication and perseverance and hard work and fun is all about.
Well, you know, that's right. And I was telling Carol earlier, maybe on the phone, I can remember before Greer County had a fairgrounds and two wonderful buildings. I remember coming with my mother as a little girl, and we met in what at that time was a National Guard armory, and that's where they had the fair. And I'm not sure where they showed the animals and all, but I couldn't believe as a kid that that's where they had the fair, but it was interesting. And then, of course, we got the fairgrounds that we have today.
Right.
And it was a wonderful addition or a way to do, and it's been interesting. And to read back in some of those older secretaries' books of the things they did and all, it's like, oh my, I can't believe that that's what they were doing.
Right.
And but it's been educational, and my mother was a keeper, as I could tell by all these books. And,
Right.
and I've sort of inherited some of it.
Right.
And
Right.
I've enjoyed 4-H. That was quite a learning. I learned to sew, and I've enjoyed it, and I still sew today.
Right.
and make quite a bit. And you know, once you learn, you keep it.
Right.
And I'm right now kind of helping with some 4-H sewing, and
Yes.
I love it.
Right.
It's so neat to see once they get it. It's like, oh, look what I did. And I can remember that's kind of how I felt, you know, after
Right.
I'd taken it out and put it back and took it out and then re-sewed it, and it was like, oh, wow, I
Right.
finally have got it.
Right.
Not saying that I don't still have to take out now and then.
Well, I've seen some of your sewing and it's beautiful, and so we're
Thank
grateful here to have you in the leadership position with our 4-H members in the sewing project, because those are some wonderful things that you're handing down to our youth, and so we appreciate it. And Linda, we want to thank you for your time today, for coming in and sharing your history with the OHCE and the Cooperative Extension, with 4-H, sharing your family. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.